Have you ever wondered what are the most devastating and powerful spells that a wizard can conjure in the Harry Potter universe? Those enchantments so dangerous they can change the course of entire battles, defy death itself, or even tear the human soul. Get ready, because today we're going to dive into the depths of the darkest and most powerful magic ever documented in the wizarding world. From the unforgivable curses to ancestral enchantments capable of impossible feats, this is a journey through the spells that separated common wizards from true masters of the dark arts and the light. Stay until the end, because we'll reveal a spell so rare that only one wizard in history managed to master it completely. Before we begin this journey through the most dangerous side of magic, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button right now. Every subscription makes all the difference and motivates us to bring more and more quality content about the magical universe. And tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching this video? I love knowing where the true Harry Potter fans who follow the channel are from. Now yes, let's begin our exploration of the most powerful spells ever known. When we talk about powerful spells in the Harry Potter world, it's impossible not to start with the 3 unforgivable curses. These enchantments are considered so terrible that their use against another human being results in life imprisonment in Azkaban without possibility of defense or mitigating circumstances. Wizarding law is absolutely clear on this point since the year 1717, when these curses were officially classified as unforgivable by the Ministry of Magic. But what makes these curses so special and so feared? The answer lies not only in their devastating effects, but in the malicious intent that is necessary to conjure them properly. The first of the unforgivable curses is the Cruciatus curse, known by the incantation word Crucio. This curse inflicts unbearable pain on its victim, a pain so intense that it can leave permanent psychological damage. We're not talking about simple discomfort or common physical pain. The Cruciatus curse directly attacks the victim's nervous system, making every nerve ending in their body scream in simultaneous agony. It's a pain that transcends the physical and reaches the psychological, capable of completely destroying a person's mind if applied for a prolonged time. We saw the devastating effects of this curse on Neville Longbottom's parents, Frank and Alice Longbottom. Both were talented auras who were captured by Bellatrix Lestrange and other Death Eaters after Voldemort's fall. They were tortured with the Cruciatus curse for hours on end in a desperate attempt by the Death Eaters to discover the whereabouts of their fallen master. The torture was so intense and prolonged that Frank and Alice completely lost their sanity. Decades later, when we meet these characters in the books, they are still hospitalized at St. Mungo's Hospital for Magical Maladies and Injuries, unable to recognize their own son. They remain trapped in a permanent state of insanity, demonstrating that some curses leave wounds that no potion or spell can heal. To properly cast the Cruciatus curse, it's not enough to simply pronounce the word and wave the wand. Bellatrix Lestrange made this very clear when Harry Potter tried to use it against her at the Ministry of Magic. The wizard truly needs to want to cause pain, needs to feel a sadistic pleasure in the victim's suffering. There must be a genuinely malicious intent behind the enchantment. When Harry tried to use Crucio against Bellatrix after she had murdered his godfather Sirius Black, the curse didn't work properly because, despite his anger and desire for revenge, Harry didn't possess that pure evil necessary to fuel the spell. Bellatrix mocked him, saying that you really need to want to cause pain for the curse to work, that you need to enjoy the victim's suffering. The second unforgivable curse is the Imperius Curse, activated by the word Imperio. This spell allows the caster total control over another person's actions, essentially transforming the victim into a puppet without their own will. A person under the effect of the Imperius Curse feels a sensation of empty happiness and detachment, as if floating in a state of artificial well-being while executing the caster's orders. It's one of the most insidious curses because it completely removes the victim's free will, making them an instrument in another person's hands. During Voldemort's reign of terror, the Imperius Curse was used extensively to infiltrate the Ministry of Magic and control important figures. Many Death Eaters captured after Voldemort's first fall claimed to be under the effect of the Imperius Curse as a defense, stating they had no control over their actions. Some of these cases were true. Others were convenient lies from people who simply wanted to escape punishment. The most notable case was that of Lucius Malfoy, who managed to avoid Azkaban by claiming to have acted under the Imperius Curse, although many suspected he served Voldemort voluntarily. Professor Barty Crouch Jr., disguised as Alastor Moody, demonstrated the effects of the Imperius Curse in his defense against the Dark Arts class in Harry's 4th year. He cast the curse on a spider, making it perform humiliating tricks like dancing and doing backflips. More importantly, he used this demonstration to teach students how to resist the curse. Harry Potter demonstrated an uncommon resistance to the Imperius Curse, managing to fight against its effects even when cast by powerful wizards. This resistance is not common and requires extraordinary willpower, as the person needs to fight against that comforting and artificial sensation that the curse provides. The third and most terrible of the unforgivable curses is Avada Kedavra, the killing curse. There is no defense against this curse, no counterspell, and no way to block it except by placing a physical object in the path of the green light beam it produces. When the killing curse hits a person, they simply die instantly, without pain, without marks, without any indication of cause of death beyond an empty body. It's as if life was simply ripped from the victim's body in an instant. The only person known in history to have survived the killing curse was Harry Potter, and this happened due to extremely unique circumstances involving his mother's sacrificial protection. When Voldemort murdered Lily Potter, she had the opportunity to step aside and save her own life, but chose to die protecting her son. This sacrifice of pure love created an ancient and powerful magical protection that Voldemort did not understand or anticipate. When he cast the killing curse against baby Harry, Lily's protection reflected the curse back at Voldemort, destroying his physical body and reducing him to less than a spirit. To properly cast Avada Kedavra, the wizard needs to possess considerable magical power, and more importantly, really needs to want to kill. It's not a curse that can be cast casually or without genuine intent. As the fake Professor Moody explained to students, they could all draw their wands and cast the killing curse at him at that moment, and the most they would achieve would be to give him a nosebleed. Real power is necessary behind the curse, fueled by a genuine will to take life. The characteristic green light beam of the curse is accompanied by a rushing sound, like something cutting through the air at high speed. Voldemort used Avada Kedavra more than any other wizard in recent history. It was his preferred spell, his signature in each murder. He killed Harry Potter's parents with this curse, murdered countless muggles and wizards throughout his 2 rises to power, and even eliminated members of his own family before his first transformation into the Dark Lord. Every time Voldemort cast this curse, it was executed with lethal perfection, demonstrating not only his immense magical power, but also his absolute lack of remorse or hesitation in taking lives. But the unforgivable curses are not the only extremely powerful spells in the wizarding arsenal. There is an even darker and more disturbing magic, something so vile that even Voldemort resorted to it to achieve his most obscure objectives. We're talking about Horcruxes, one of the darkest branches of dark magic ever documented. A Horcrux is not exactly a single spell, but rather a complex magical process that involves splitting one's own soul and hiding it in a physical object to achieve a distorted form of immortality. The process of creating a Horcrux is so terrible that the specific details were removed even from the most obscure dark magic books in the Hogwarts library. What we know is that creating a Horcrux requires the murder of another person, because killing is the supreme act of evil that tears the murderer's soul. The soul, once torn by the act of killing, can then be separated through a specific enchantment and sealed in an object. This object then becomes a receptacle for that fraction of the soul, anchoring the Horcrux's creator to the world of the living even if their body is destroyed. Voldemort was the only known wizard to create not just one, but 7 Horcruxes, although the 7th was created accidentally when he tried to kill Harry Potter. Horace Slughorn himself was absolutely horrified when young Tom Riddle asked about the possibility of splitting the soul into 7 pieces. Slughorn explained that splitting the soul once is already an act of supreme evil, but doing it 6 times deliberately was something beyond any sane wizard's comprehension. The process leaves the soul so unstable and damaged that the person becomes less human with each Horcrux created. Voldemort's Horcruxes included Tom Riddle's diary, the gaunt ring containing the Resurrection Stone, Slytherin's locket, Hufflepuff's cup, Rowena Ravenclaw's diadem, the snake Nagini, and involuntarily Harry Potter himself. Each of these objects contained a fragment of Voldemort's soul, making him practically immortal as long as the Horcruxes existed. Destroying a Horcrux requires extremely powerful magic, capable of damaging the object beyond any possible magical repair. Basilisk venom, Fiendfyre, and the killing curse are among the few known methods capable of destroying a Horcrux. Fiendfyre, known in Latin as Fiendfyre, deserves special mention as one of the most dangerous and difficult to control spells in all magic. This enchantment creates cursed flames that take the form of burning creatures, like serpents, dragons, and chimeras made of living fire. Once conjured, Fiendfyre consumes everything in its path, destroying physical and magical matter indiscriminately. The fire is practically impossible to extinguish by conventional means, and can easily get out of control, even for the wizard who conjured it, consuming them along with everything around. Vincent Crabbe learned to conjure Fiendfyre and used it in the Room of Requirement during the Battle of Hogwarts, in an attempt to kill Harry Potter and his friends. However, Crabbe didn't have the knowledge or skill necessary to control something so powerful. The fire quickly got out of control, spreading through the Room of Requirement and destroying countless powerful magical objects accumulated over centuries, including Rowena Ravenclaw's diadem, which was one of Voldemort's Horcruxes. Ironically, Crabbe himself was consumed by the flames he had created, demonstrating the mortal danger of conjuring magic that is beyond one's own ability to control. The Protego Maxima spell represents the other side of the powerful magic spectrum, being one of the strongest magical protections available to wizards. While the common Protego creates a simple shield capable of reflecting minor spells, Protego Maxima creates an almost impenetrable magical barrier that can cover an extensive area. During the Battle of Hogwarts, the professors and members of the Order of the Phoenix worked together to conjure powerful protections around the castle, including Protego Maxima, which created a dome of brilliant protection over the entire school. These protections were not absolute, but were strong enough to resist even the combined attacks of Voldemort and his Death Eaters for a considerable period. When the protections finally gave way, it wasn't a sudden collapse, but rather a gradual erosion, as Voldemort and his forces cast spell after spell against the barriers. The breaking of the protections was a dramatic moment, with the barrier shattering like glass and falling in brilliant fragments around the castle. This was the moment when the battle truly began, when Voldemort's forces could finally cross the boundaries of Hogwarts. Another extremely powerful protection spell is the Fidelius Charm, an enchantment so complex that very few wizards can perform it adequately. The Fidelius charm hides a secret within the soul of a single person, called the Secret Keeper. As long as the Keeper doesn't voluntarily reveal the secret, it's literally impossible for any other person to discover it, no matter how physically close they are to the hidden information. You could be standing directly in front of what's being hidden, and wouldn't be able to see it or find it without the Keeper revealing the secret. James and Lily Potter used the Fidelius charm to protect their home in Godric's Hollow from Voldemort. Originally, they planned to make Sirius Black the Secret Keeper, but Sirius convinced them to use Peter Pettigrew instead, arguing that Voldemort would never suspect someone so seemingly insignificant. This was a tragic decision, as Pettigrew was secretly a spy for Voldemort and betrayed the Potters' location immediately. Later, the Fidelius charm was used to protect the location of the Order of the Phoenix headquarters at number 12 Grimmauld Place, with Dumbledore serving as Secret Keeper. The sacrificial protection magic that saved baby Harry Potter represents an even rarer and more powerful form of magic. This is not magic that can be learned from books or practiced as a common spell. It's ancient magic that comes from the purest love and voluntary sacrifice. When Lily Potter chose to die protecting Harry, even having the chance to live, she created a protection so powerful that Voldemort, one of the most powerful wizards of all time, couldn't penetrate it. This protection lived in Harry's blood, making him untouchable to Voldemort as long as he could call home the place where his mother's blood resided. That's why Dumbledore insisted that Harry should return to the Dursleys' house every year, no matter how badly they treated him. As long as Petunia Dursley, Lily's sister, offered Harry refuge, the protection of Lily's sacrifice remained active. Voldemort tried to circumvent this protection in the fourth book by using Harry's blood in his resurrection ritual. But even then, he couldn't completely touch the essence of the protection that Lily had left. Corporeal Patronuses represent another form of extremely advanced and difficult magic. The Patronus charm, Expecto Patronum, conjures a protective force of positive energy that takes the form of a silver animal. The Patronus form is unique to each wizard and generally reflects aspects of their personality or life experiences. To conjure a corporeal Patronus, the wizard must concentrate on their happiest memory while channeling protective magic through the wand. The result is a physical manifestation of all the happiness, hope, and positive energy of the caster. Patronuses are the only known defense against Dementors, those terrible creatures that feed on human happiness and can suck a person's soul through the so-called Dementor's kiss. The Patronus not only drives away Dementors, but can force them to retreat completely. A complete corporeal Patronus, unlike a simple silver mist, requires considerable magical skill and significant emotional strength. Many adult wizards never manage to conjure a complete corporeal Patronus, producing only the basic protective mist. Harry Potter demonstrated exceptional talent with this spell, managing to conjure his first complete corporeal Patronus at 13 years of age, something almost unheard of. His Patronus took the form of a stag, the same animal his father James Potter could transform into as an animagus. More notably, Harry managed to conjure a Patronus powerful enough not only to drive away Dementors, but to completely disperse more than 100 of them at once when they attacked during a Quidditch match. This feat demonstrates that a Patronus's strength depends not only on technical skill, but on the depth of the positive emotions that fuel it. Dumbledore took the use of Patronuses to another level by developing a method of communication using these magical creatures. He managed to make his Patronus, a silver phoenix, carry messages to members of the Order of the Phoenix, something that requires extraordinary magical control and sophistication. Other members of the Order eventually learned this technique, using Patronuses to send urgent messages during the Second Wizarding War. Snape's Patronus, a doe that corresponded to Lily Potter's, revealed through its form the depth of his unrequited love for her. a love that persisted even years after her death. Legilimency and occlumency represent extremely subtle and difficult to master forms of mental magic. Legilimency is the art of navigating the minds and emotions of others, a form of mind reading that goes far beyond simply guessing what someone is thinking. A skilled legilimens can extract feelings and memories, interpreting telltale signs in the target's eyes and expressions. Voldemort was a supreme master of legilimency, capable of seeing through lies and accessing the minds of people around him without them noticing. Occlumency, on the other hand, is the art of defending the mind against external invasion, of closing the mind against legilimens and even deceiving them with false memories and emotions. Severus Snape was an exceptional practitioner of occlumency, having deceived Voldemort himself for years while serving as a spy for Dumbledore. Occlumency is not simply blocking emotions or emptying the mind, but rather controlling and compartmentalizing thoughts and feelings so completely that even a powerful legilimens cannot penetrate the defenses. Snape tried to teach occlumency to Harry Potter during his 5th year, but the lessons were disastrous. Harry had great difficulty emptying his mind and controlling his emotions, especially in relation to Snape, whom he despised. The unique connection between Harry and Voldemort, created inadvertently when Voldemort tried to kill him as a baby, made occlumency especially important for Harry. Through this connection, Voldemort could sometimes see through Harry's eyes and feel his emotions, and vice versa. Voldemort eventually realized this connection and exploited it, planting a false vision in Harry about Sirius Black being in danger at the Ministry of Magic. Human transfiguration represents one of the most advanced and dangerous branches of transfiguration magic. While transforming one object into another is already quite complex, transforming a human being into something else or transforming objects into humans is among the most difficult feats a wizard can attempt. Minerva McGonagall was a master of this art, capable of transforming into a cat at will as a registered animagus. But human transfiguration goes beyond animagus transformation, including the ability to alter human appearance or transform people into inanimate objects. Dumbledore demonstrated impressive mastery of human transfiguration when he transformed the statues in the Ministry Atrium into living guardians during his duel with Voldemort. He also used transfiguration to temporarily trap Bellatrix Lestrange, conjuring ropes that wrapped around her completely. During their duel, both Dumbledore and Voldemort demonstrated the ability to transfigure elements of the environment around them into weapons and defenses, showing that true mastery of transfiguration allows a wizard to reshape reality around them in real time during combat. Transformation into an animagus is an especially controlled form of human transfiguration that allows a wizard to transform into a specific animal at will. The process to become an animagus is extremely long, complicated, and dangerous, taking months or even years to complete. The wizard must keep a mandrake leaf in their mouth for an entire lunar month, never swallowing or spitting it out. A single failure means having to restart the entire process. After that, there are complex potions and enchantments that must be performed at specific times, and the entire process can go terribly wrong, resulting in permanent transformations or disturbing hybrids of human and animal. James Potter, Sirius Black, and Peter Pettigrew managed to become animagi illegally during their years at Hogwarts, a remarkable feat considering the complexity and danger involved. James transformed into a stag, Sirius into a large black dog, and Pettigrew into a rat. They did this to be able to accompany Remus Lupin during his werewolf transformations, since animals are not affected by the lycanthropy curse in the same way as humans. The fact that 3 teenagers managed to complete this complex process without supervision demonstrates both their exceptional magical ability and their youthful recklessness. Rita Skeeter was an unregistered animagus who transformed into a beetle, allowing her to spy on private conversations for her sensationalist articles in the Daily Prophet. When Hermione discovered her secret, she used this information to blackmail Rita and force her to write Harry's true story about Voldemort's return. A person's animagus form is determined by their personality and internal characteristics. It's not something that can be chosen. It's interesting to note that a person's Patronus and their animagus form generally correspond, although there are exceptions to this rule. Apparition represents another form of complex magic that many wizards find difficult to master. Apparating involves disappearing from one place and reappearing instantly in another, a form of magical travel that requires intense concentration and determination. The wizard must concentrate on destination, that is, the place they want to go, on determination, the desire to reach that destination, and on deliberation, purposeful movement that will take them there. Apparating without proper concentration can result in splinching, leaving body parts behind, a painful and potentially fatal occurrence. Wizards need to pass a test and obtain a license before they can legally apparate, just as muggles need a driver's license. The test examines not only the technical ability to apparate, but also the ability to do so safely and precisely. Susan Bones got her license first try, but both Harry and Ron initially failed for leaving eyebrows behind. Apparating becomes more difficult the greater the distance, and there are geographical limits. It's impossible to apparate directly into or out of Hogwarts due to protective enchantments around the school. Sidelong apparition, where a wizard takes another person along while apparating, requires even more skill and magical power. Dumbledore was capable of sidelong apparition with ease, taking Harry with him on several occasions. During these trips, Harry described the sensation as being pulled through an extremely tight space, experiencing intense pressure from all sides before suddenly appearing at the destination. Powerful wizards like Voldemort and Dumbledore could apparate with such precision that they arrived exactly where they intended, sometimes appearing and disappearing multiple times in rapid succession during duels. Memory spells represent another category of magic that can be extremely powerful in the right hands. The memory charm, or obliviate, is used to modify or erase specific memories from someone's mind. When used correctly by a skilled wizard, the spell can surgically remove specific memories with precision, leaving the rest of the mind intact. However, when used incorrectly or with too much force, it can cause permanent brain damage and massive memory loss. Hermione Granger used the memory charm on her own parents before embarking on the Horcrux hunt with Harry and Ron. She modified their memories so they thought they were other people and didn't have a daughter, making them move to Australia for safety. This was a painful sacrifice for Hermione, essentially erasing herself from her parents' lives to protect them from Death Eaters. She intended to reverse the spell after the war, although we don't know for certain if she managed to do this successfully. Gilderoy Lockhart was supposedly an expert in memory charms, having used them extensively to steal the feats of other wizards and present them as his own. He would interview wizards who had performed heroic deeds, extract all the details of their adventures, and then erase their memories of these events, publishing the stories as his own achievements. His fatal mistake came when he tried to use a memory charm on Harry and Ron with Ron's broken wand. The spell backfired and hit Lockhart himself, completely erasing his memory and leaving him with permanent brain damage. Years later, he was still hospitalized at St. Mungo's, not even remembering who he was. Summoning spells, particularly Accio, may seem simple on the surface, but become extremely powerful when used creatively. Accio allows the wizard to summon objects from varying distances directly to their hand. Harry used this spell to summon his firebolt during the first task of the Triwizard Tournament, bringing the broom from Hogwarts Castle to the grounds where he faced the Hungarian Horntail. This demonstrates that Accio can work across considerable distances when cast with sufficient force. The spell can also be used to disarm opponents by summoning their wands, or to remove dangerous objects from enemies' reach. During the battle in the Department of Mysteries, members of the Order of the Phoenix repeatedly used Accio to summon the prophecy from the Death Eater's hands, although the object was eventually destroyed during combat. The versatility of Accio makes it a valuable tool both in everyday situations and in combat, limited only by the caster's creativity and power. Shield charms go far beyond the simple Protego. There are variations like Protego Horribilis, which offers protection against more powerful dark magic, and Protego Totalum, which creates a protective barrier around a specific area. During the Horcrux hunt, Hermione cast these protective enchantments every night around their camping areas, creating invisible barriers that would alert the trio if anyone approached. These protections also helped hide their presence from anyone who might be looking for them, making their camp essentially invisible to passers-by. The combination of multiple protective enchantments is what really creates impenetrable defenses. Hogwarts, for example, didn't depend on a single spell, but on layers and layers of protections accumulated over more than 1,000 years. There were enchantments that prevented apparition, spells that repelled muggles, making them remember urgent appointments elsewhere, protections that prevented the school from being mapped or photographed, and countless other defenses that made Hogwarts one of the safest places in the magical world. It took an entire army and the most powerful dark wizard to finally break through these defenses. Sectum Sempra deserves special mention as one of the most dangerous spells ever created. Invented by young Severus Snape and noted in his 6th-year potions book, this spell was described only as being for enemies. When Harry used it against Draco Malfoy in the bathroom, not knowing what the spell did, the results were horrible. Sectum Sempra opened deep cuts in Draco's body as if an invisible sword had attacked him repeatedly, leaving him bleeding profusely on the flooded bathroom floor. Draco would have died if Snape hadn't arrived and used the counterspell Vulnera Sanentur. Vulnera Sanentur, also created by Snape, was a complex healing spell that had to be chanted 3 times while the wand was moved over the wounds. On the first repetition, the bleeding decreased. On the second, the wounds began to close. On the third, only scars remained where before there had been deep and potentially fatal cuts. The fact that Snape created both the attack spell and its cure suggests he developed Sectum Sempra during his days as a student, probably to use against the marauders who constantly bullied him, and then created the cure in case he ever needed to reverse the damage. Broomless flight spells represent one of the rarest and most impressive magical feats. Most wizards depend on broomsticks, flying carpets, or other tools to fly, but a select few managed to develop the ability to fly without any aid. Voldemort was the first wizard in generations to achieve this feat, transforming his body into black smoke that could move through the air at tremendous speeds. This form of flight was one of his many magical innovations, demonstrating that he was not only powerful, but also truly innovative in his approach to magic. Snape eventually developed his own version of broomless flight, managing to move through the air during his escape from Hogwarts after killing Dumbledore. Snape's form of flight was slightly different from Voldemort's, suggesting that each wizard who masters this ability develops their own method. Broomless flight requires both immense magical power and deep understanding of the laws governing levitation and magical movement. It's possible that part of this knowledge came from Voldemort's research in creating Horcruxes and separating his soul from his physical body, giving him insights into how to manipulate the physical nature of his being. Weather spells represent magic on a truly massive scale, affecting climate and natural elements over extensive areas. Dumbledore demonstrated the ability to create a ring of fire around himself and Harry at the lake where Slytherin's locket was hidden, a spell so powerful that it kept hundreds of Imperius at bay. This was not common fire, but magical flames that responded to Dumbledore's will, growing more intense when the Imperius tried to approach. During the Battle of Hogwarts, Professor McGonagall animated the knights from the castle's suits of armor, ordering them to defend Hogwarts. This was an extremely complex mass animation spell, giving life and purpose to dozens of statues and armors simultaneously. McGonagall commented that she had always wanted to use this spell, suggesting it was something she had planned and prepared, but had never had occasion to execute. The armors marched into battle obediently, forming an additional line of defense against Voldemort's forces. The blood-based protection magic that protected Harry was so powerful that Dumbledore built an entire strategy around it. This protection was not something that could be learned or replicated. It was the direct result of the sacrifice of purest love. Lily Potter didn't just die for Harry. She had the choice to live and chose death. This voluntary choice to sacrifice her life out of love for her son created magic so ancient and powerful that it's beyond most wizards' understanding. Voldemort, who never knew love and valued nothing beyond power, could not have predicted or understood this protection. The connection that formed between Harry and Voldemort when the killing curse failed was another form of accidental and extremely rare magic. When Voldemort inadvertently turned Harry into a Horcrux, he created a bond between them that went beyond simple mental connection. Harry inherited certain abilities from Voldemort, including the ability to speak Parseltongue, the language of serpents. This ability allowed Harry to communicate with snakes, something normally associated only with descendants of Salazar Slytherin. In fact, it was partially this ability that led the Sorting Hat to consider placing Harry in Slytherin. The connection allowed Harry to sometimes see through Voldemort's eyes and feel his emotions, especially when Voldemort was experiencing particularly intense feelings. It was through this connection that Harry witnessed Mr. Weasley's murder by Nagini, although in reality, Arthur had been attacked but not killed. Voldemort eventually realized this connection and tried to use it against Harry, planting false visions to manipulate him. The scene where Harry saw Sirius being tortured at the Ministry of Magic was entirely fabricated by Voldemort, a trap to lure Harry to the Department of Mysteries. Priori incantatem is an extremely rare magical phenomenon that occurs when two wands that share the same core are forced to duel against each other. Harry's wand and Voldemort's wand both contained feathers from Dumbledore's phoenix, Fawkes, making them brother wands. When these wands met in combat during Voldemort's resurrection in the Little Hangleton Cemetery, they produced the Priori Incantatem effect, connecting through a golden beam of light. During Priori Incantatem, the wands were forced to reveal echoes of the most recent spells they had cast. From Voldemort's wand emerged ghostly shadows of the people he had murdered, starting with Cedric Diggory and going back through his victims until reaching James and Lily Potter. These echoes were not real ghosts, but magical impressions that maintained some consciousness and ability to interact. They encouraged Harry and helped him escape, with James instructing his son to hold the connection and then run when he broke the spell. The Resurrection Stone, one of the Deathly Hallows, possessed a power that no common spell could replicate, the ability to bring back the dead, although not completely. The stone didn't truly bring the dead back to life as they would have been, but created something between a ghost and a living person, a half-alive existence that didn't truly belong to the world of the living. As the tale of the three brothers warned, those brought back by the stone were sad and cold because they no longer belonged to the mortal world. Harry used the Resurrection Stone in the moment before surrendering to Voldemort in the Forbidden Forest. He activated it and was immediately surrounded by the presences of his parents, Sirius Black and Remus Lupin. These were not the dead truly resurrected, but their presences were real enough for Harry, offering comfort and courage as he walked toward what he believed was his death. They assured him that dying didn't hurt, that it was faster and easier than falling asleep, and walked by his side until the moment he faced Voldemort. The Elder Wand, also known as the Wand of Destiny, was considered the most powerful wand ever created. Made of elderwood and containing ancestral tail hair, this wand supposedly made its owner invincible in duels. The story said it was created by death itself and given to the first of the three brothers, Antioch Peveril. In reality, it was probably created by Antioch, who was an exceptionally talented wand maker, but legend grew around it over the centuries. The Elder Wand had a unique characteristic. Its allegiance changed through conquest. Unlike normal wands that develop loyalty over time and use, the Elder Wand transferred its allegiance to whoever defeated its previous owner. It wasn't necessary to kill the owner, just defeat them in some significant way. This nature caused the wand to change hands many times over the centuries, leaving a trail of blood and death as ambitious wizards hunted its current owner to claim its power. Dumbledore obtained the Elder Wand by defeating Grindelwald in their famous duel of 1945. He kept it until his death, and according to traditional wand transfer laws, Snape should have become its master by killing Dumbledore. However, the wand's true allegiance went to Draco Malfoy, who had disarmed Dumbledore moments before Snape killed him. Draco never knew he had become master of the Elder Wand, and subsequently Harry disarmed him during the escape from Malfoy Manor, making Harry the true master of the wand without anyone, including Harry himself, realizing it until much later. Voldemort stole the Elder Wand from Dumbledore's tomb, believing this would make him truly invincible. But the wand was never loyal to him because he had never defeated its true master. During the final confrontation in the Great Hall of Hogwarts, when Voldemort cast the Killing Curse using the Elder Wand against Harry, who was using Draco's Hawthorn Wand, the Elder Wand refused to kill its true master. The curse rebounded and hit Voldemort himself, destroying him finally and completely. The invisibility cloak that belonged to James Potter and later to Harry was the third Deathly Hallow, and unlike the other two, was genuinely a gift from death, according to legend. While other invisibility cloaks existed in the magical world, all eventually lost their power or were penetrated by revelation spells. The invisibility cloak of Ignotus Peveril, the third brother, never faded, never became opaque, and could completely hide its user even from detection spells and from death's own sight. Harry possessed all three Deathly Hallows during his final moments in the Forbidden Forest: the cloak that had always been his, the stone he recovered from the Golden Snitch from his first Quidditch game, and the allegiance of the Elder Wand that he had inadvertently won from Draco. This made him the master of death, not in the sense of having power over death, but in the sense of accepting death and not fearing it. Unlike Voldemort, who sought to avoid death at any cost through Horcruxes, or the Peveril brothers who tried to cheat death with the Hallows, Harry accepted his mortality and voluntarily walked toward what he believed was his end. The sacrifice Harry made by voluntarily surrendering to Voldemort in the Forbidden Forest created a protection similar to the one his mother had created for him. When Voldemort cast the Killing Curse against Harry, it destroyed the part of Voldemort's soul that lived inside Harry, but failed to kill Harry himself. More importantly, Harry's voluntary sacrifice created protection over all who were fighting against Voldemort at Hogwarts. That's why, after Harry's return, Voldemort's spells stopped working properly. His torture spells no longer stuck, and he could no longer easily kill those Harry had protected with his sacrifice. The final duel between Harry and Voldemort was as much a confrontation of wands as of philosophies. Voldemort depended on the Elder Wand and believed that raw power was all that mattered. Harry depended on sacrifice, love, and acceptance of death, things Voldemort could never understand. When both cast their spells simultaneously, Voldemort using Avada Kedavra and Harry using Expelliarmus, the simplest possible disarming spell, the Elder Wand refused to kill its true master, and the curse rebounded. Tom Riddle, the orphan boy who became Voldemort, spent his entire life seeking immortality and power. He fragmented his soul into 7 pieces, transformed himself into something less than human, and gathered followers through fear and promises of power. In the end, he was destroyed by a teenager using the most basic disarming spell, because Voldemort never understood that there are things stronger than dark magic. The love that led Lily to sacrifice herself, the loyalty that made Snape spy for Dumbledore for years, the courage that allowed Harry to walk to his own death. These were the truly powerful magics that Voldemort could never conjure. After the battle, Harry made the decision not to keep the Elder Wand. He used it once to repair his own Holly and Phoenix feather wand that had been broken, and then returned the Elder Wand to Dumbledore's tomb. Harry understood what so many wizards before him failed to understand, that the quest for absolute power inevitably leads to ruin. By leaving the wand in the tomb, he hoped its power would die with him eventually, ending centuries of bloodshed caused by ambitious wizards hunting the most powerful wand. This is the true lesson about the most powerful spells in the Harry Potter world. Power doesn't come only from knowing the most destructive curses or possessing the most powerful artifacts. True power comes from understanding when to use magic and when not to use it, from comprehending that some things, love, sacrifice, loyalty, are stronger than any spell. Voldemort knew magic that very few other wizards knew, created Horcruxes that made him nearly immortal, and possessed the most powerful wand ever created. But he was defeated because there were fundamental things about magic and human nature that he simply could not or would not understand. The most powerful spells are not necessarily those that cause the most destruction or that are most difficult to conjure. Sometimes, the simplest spells, when cast with the right intention and emotion, can be more powerful than all the dark magic in the world. A Patronus conjured with memories of true love can disperse hundreds of Dementors. A simple Expelliarmus at the right moment can defeat the most powerful dark wizard in history. And a mother's choice to die for her child can create protection that lasts years and survives even the destruction of the physical body. So when we think about the most powerful spells in the Harry Potter universe, we must remember that power doesn't exist in a vacuum. The same spells that made Voldemort terribly dangerous, the unforgivable curses, Horcruxes, advanced dark magic, were also his downfall, because he sought power without wisdom, immortality without humanity, and victory without understanding what's worth winning. Harry, on the other hand, won not by being more powerful, but by understanding what Voldemort never could, that some things are more important than not dying, and that true power comes not from avoiding death, but from accepting mortality and still choosing to do what's right. I hope you enjoyed this deep journey through the most powerful spells and magic of the wizarding world. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for your attention and dedication. Don't forget to leave your like, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos. In the comments, tell me, which of these spells did you find most fascinating? Which magic would you like to be able to use if you lived in the magical world? And share this video with that friend who's a Harry Potter fan like you. Until the next video, and may magic always be with you.